This video is brought to you by Grainger Warranty, your #1 online source for factory-backed extended warranties in the country.
The 2026 Honda CR-V TrailSport is the latest in a growing line of off-roady Honda crossovers and SUVs, and in today's video we're going to find out, is it worthy of that TrailSport badge? And what we're going to do is we're going to start out on-road in the TrailSport. We're going to find out what it drives like, if it's comfortable, what the interior is like, and then we're going to take it off-road and see what it's like in the dirt. Honda sells quite a few CR-Vs every year, and I'm not talking 10 or 20 or 30,000 CR-Vs. I'm not even talking 100 or 200,000 CR-Vs. Last year alone, Honda sold over 400,000 CR-Vs in the USA. That is a crazy number of cars, so Honda has to get this car right. And this is the first time ever Honda has offered a TrailSport off-road version of the CR-V. The TrailSport version of the CR-V is only available as a hybrid, which is cool for a couple of reasons. First of all, did you know that over 50% of all new CR-Vs sold are hybrids? Something like 55%. So most people are buying hybrids anyways. And this hybrid system is really cool as to how it works. So total horsepower, 204. Total torque, 247. Pretty good numbers. Now, the gasoline side of things is a 4-cylinder engine, right? But the electric side of things are where things get very interesting. So we're looking at a 2-motor setup. Now, one motor is a starter generator. The second motor is a traction motor. And what that means is that when you drive the CR-V, most of the time you're driving an electric car that's being charged with the gasoline engine. So that gasoline engine's primary job is as a generator. So cruising around like we are in the hills above San Diego, when I get on the throttle, that engine's gonna rev up, but that engine isn't powering the wheels directly. Instead, it's powering the battery, which then supplies the motor with electricity. However, steady state on the highway, the gasoline engine can propel the vehicle directly via a lockup clutch. So there's a lot going on here, but the result is pretty good fuel efficiency in both city and highway. So in the city, it's electric, more or less, propulsion, and then on the highway, it's gasoline, more or less propulsion, where those technologies are most efficient. Now, this vehicle, a lot of people will say, has an ECVT, right? And technically that's correct, because the dual motor setup does operate is a continuously variable transmission. There's no fixed gear ratios, but there's also no belt and cone that can fail like on an old Nissan, right? This is a very different setup than that. All right, everybody, no need to adjust your computers here. I'm still Tommy, but now I'm in a Passport TrailSport where I did an upcoming really cool off-road video, which will be up over at TFL Car this weekend. But I want to give a shout out to our sponsor for today's video, Grainger Warranties. If you guys are looking for a slightly used Honda and you want that peace of mind in the long run, check out Grainger Warranties using the link below. So I've dialed the CR-V TrailSport into the sport mode, full throttle, a little bit of delay before you get that kind of kick of torque, and then you can see that the car will actually simulate a transmission. You can see that little gauge on the left, the power percentage gauge bouncing up and down, and you can audibly hear it go, but it's not changing gears. Now the acceleration is pretty good. It's not as you'd expect though, because technically you're driving an electric car with a gasoline generator. You'd expect it to be kind of immediate like you would with an EV, because it is propelled by an electric motor, but it does take a sec for the revs to build on the gas engine so it can start producing that electricity you need to go down the road. So there's a little bit of like a delay, almost like a little bit of turbo lag. And then on the left here, we actually have a battery gauge. Now the battery gauge will tell us approximately how much electricity is in that small high voltage battery, and that will go up and down. One thing to know is you have no control over that. There's no way you can control that gauge, right? You can't plug it in. The car will self-regulate how much charge is in the battery. The problem is when you're going up a really steep incline, you will notice the battery gauge will decrease because you're using more electricity. The result, however, is that the revs will then increase on the engine and you get kind of this annoying drone going up some high steep mountain passes is what I'm trying to say, right? So on like I-70 out of Colorado, you'll likely kind of hear this drone of that engine just is working hard to make electricity to keep you going. But the powertrain, other than that, it's pretty efficient and it's just pretty nice to drive. Now the rest of the car, from an on-road standpoint, is very soft, which is great. So out here on this twisty road above San Diego, yeah, you do get quite a lot of body roll and you do get a little bit of float as well. And a lot of other journalists would probably criticize it for that, but for me, I'm an old man, right? I want as much float as I can get. I want to be wafted to the grocery store and to the school run. I don't care how it handles in the canyon because that's not what this car is about. But if you do bring it up to the canyon, apart from the body roll, the steering is actually very responsive and the brakes are very good. Plus, there's a little mode down here. So there's D and there's B. So if you stick it in B, you kind of get more regen. There we go. So that when I let off the throttle, the charge gauge is going to go deeper into the green, right? And then the car is going to slow down. And then you'll notice that little B with those little arrows, I can actually control how much regen I have by activating the paddle shifter. So if I pull the left one, I get more regen. If I pull the right one, I get less regen. Same thing in actually the drive setting. That pretty cool little thing. Now it's not a true one pedal setup, like you still need the brakes, but it is cool that it kind of drives a little bit more like an electric car when you decelerate down the mountain. I do appreciate that. The only complaint I have, and it's a tiny complaint from a driving standpoint, you do have more aggressive tires. You do get just a slight bit of road noise. It's kind of whoa, 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 whoa when you're going down the highway at speed. It's probably not going to be noticeable for some people, but that is the drawback with the TrailSport version. Now, the focus of today's video has been the new CR-V TrailSport. This is the newest TrailSport, but Honda has several other TrailSports in their lineup. So let's take a quick look at those, starting with this bright blue truck over my left shoulder. Now this is the Ridgeline TrailSport, and the formula for the CR-V and the Ridgeline are largely the same. You get some special colors, you get some cool badging, some interior bits and bobs, and then you've got a nice set of tires that make this vehicle look more off-roady and more capable. But the actual hardware differences between the TrailSport and the standard Ridgeline and CR-V are pretty minimal. However, not all TrailSports are built the same. Let's go look at the other two. Now this right here is the Pilot TrailSport, and of course the Pilot is Honda's biggest crossover. It's a 3-row crossover SUV, and the TrailSport at initial glance looks pretty similar to the other two. So you've got this cool color, you've got a nice set of Continental tires, you get a slightly different wheel design, but things are more thorough when you look at the capability side of the Pilot TrailSport. So underneath you get added underbody protection. You also get a built-in recovery point. It's kind of hard to see, but right here at the front of this underguard is this little loop here that you can use to recover the vehicle. So this is a more serious approach at off-road capability. You also get, just like the Ridgeline, the iVTM4 torque vectoring all-wheel drive system, which is very, very impressive. But if you want capability, there is one TrailSport version that takes the cake. And that brings us to the final TrailSport, and no, it's not Honda's legacy of building some crazy motocross machines. I'm talking Passport here. Now, the Passport TrailSport is the most extreme TrailSport. So just like the others we looked at, you get colors, you get trim, you get wheels and tires, you get this cool hood graphic as an option, which is very cool, but they bring it a step farther. So down here, you're gonna notice integrated front recovery points. And then along the side, if you poke your head underneath, you're also gonna notice a set of rocker protection, some very basic rock rails here. So what we see here, and this is what I'm trying to get across, not all TrailSports are built the same. They're actually very different. On the low end of the TrailSport lineup, from a capability standpoint, you've got the CR-V, which is some nice paint and some cool looking tires. And then on the upper end, you've got the Passport that has recovery points and tires and rocker protection and iVTM4 and all of it. And then if you want to go further, you can get yourself on a motorcycle, or how about a Talon? So just like, you know, Honda as a general concept here, you've got a wide range of capability across the lineup. depending on the model. On the outside, the best part of this car, bar none, is the color, which is unique to the TrailSport version of the CR-V. Now this is an ash green is what it's called, but it really is this beautiful kind of light olive green. It looks great in the direct sunlight and it looks great in the shade as well. But this car's got some slight appearance tweaks compared to the standard CR-V. Now the biggest thing you're going to notice is the badging. So here in the front you've got that orange TrailSport badge, which is now available across a bunch of Hondas, from the Pilot to the Passport to the Ridgeline. Unfortunately, the CR-V is by far the mildest of the Honda TrailSport lineup. So they didn't do a lot to differentiate this car from the standard CR-V. In the front here, you are going to notice a different front fascia, and they have included this silver trim guard. But it's important to note that even though this kind of looks like a metal, that's all plastic. So none of this is structural to the actual off-road capability of the vehicle. It's more just here to differentiate it from the standard CR-V. Now, one thing which I do give them credit for doing, the wheel and tire package. So it is an 18-inch wheel, which is fantastic. I'm glad they didn't put a 19 or a 20, and it is wrapped in this Continental Cross Contact tire. Now, I wouldn't call this a true all-terrain tire. It's more of like what I would consider a rugged terrain. So it adds a little bit more sidewall protection, a little bit more forward bite, but it isn't a true KO3 all-terrain, for example. 265 60 R18. I do appreciate that they have a slightly smaller wheel than you can get on a lot of other CR-Vs. That's good news to get you a bigger sidewall. And then this wheel is a gray painted wheel, and for regular rugged use, I do worry that that's going to get a little bit scuffed up over time. Now, coming along the side of the CR-V, we got the black mirrors, we got the black door handles, and we also have the black roof rails. Appreciate that this car doesn't have any chrome on it. It's a very cohesive look, so front to back, it's been fully de-chromed. And as we make our way to the tail of the CR-V TrailSport, we do have this little black lip spoiler up here as well, and then CR-V badging also once again in that blacked out look here with the hybrid badge underneath. CR-V TrailSport only available in the hybrid configuration. It does have a chrome Honda badge back here, which would be cool if that was blacked out. And as we make our way down low, it does have what appears to be these large and in-charge exhaust ports, but these are 100% totally fake. The TrailSport does have an integrated kind of tow point here, which I do have to give it credit for. A lot of other crossovers won't even have one front or rear, so that's good. And then if you look on the right side of the car, my producer Zach just pointed out, at least on this side, it is a semi-functional exhaust port. Time to check out the inside of the CR-V, and I want to start with the seats. Now, this TrailSport has this cloth material with kind of these perforated bolsters here and then these striped innards, and I really, really like these seats because they are cloth. I can't tell you how nice it is to get into a cloth seat when it's been 100 degrees outside and you're playing around in the desert versus a leather seat. Now, the TrailSport does get some unique finishes on the inside. We've got the headrest finish here with the orange stitching along the headrest. We also have the orange stitching on the bolsters, and then even here across the center console, we're gonna see that kind of cohesive look. But let me dust myself off here and hop inside the TrailSport. Now, luckily, even if I do have some dust on my shoes, not a big deal because we do have the TrailSport branded rubber mats. And now we can check out the inside of the CR-V. So a couple of things. Let's go ahead and start with the screen here. Now, every CR-V is going to come standard with this 9-inch screen. So in the past, there was a 7-inch available. The 7-inch is no more. Every version of the CR-V is going to have this 9-inch display. Now, I find that it works pretty well as a whole. So we've got, of course, our various audio settings here that we can access. It's all pretty easy to use. Big is bold, but you know, it does have an easily accessible volume knob there. I would like a tune knob on this side so you can kind of cycle through some of this stuff a little bit easier, but it also, of course, has Apple CarPlay and Android Auto integrated into the screen. Now, moving over to the driver display, every version of the CR-V is going to come with a digital cluster. Now, there are still some analog gauges, so we've got our battery gauge on the left and, of course, fuel gauge on the right side, but we do have our configurable center screen now across the lineup. So we've got our power on our left, we've got our speedometer on the right there, and then you can kind of cycle through some of the different sound settings there on the left. On the right, we've got a whole bunch of other displays that you can go through, like fuel economy, driver safety. We've got our torque vectoring, we've got our seatbelt screen. So nice kind of touch on the 25 CRV. Now, apart from that, what I do like about this interior is that there's still a bunch of buttons in here. So check this out. We've got physical climate control, buttons and switches and knobs. So dual zone automatic climate control in this car. Physical button there for the heated seats. And then below that, we have USB-C charging and connectivity there. Our wireless charging tray, easily accessible there in the middle. And I really also like that this still has a physical clunk, clunk, clunk shifter for park, reverse, neutral drive, and the regen settings. Here's our different drive mode settings. You can cycle through normal, sport, econ, and snow. And then this right here is going to be our hill descent control. Push that button for some assistance going down steep grade that works from speeds from 2 to 12 miles an hour. A couple of cup holders here in the center, fairly easily accessible. And as we lift open the center console, you're going to find a deep space there for all of your little knickknacks. Certainly one of the best parts about the new 26 CRV is the back seat. The amount of space back here is almost unbelievable. I'm 6 feet tall. This is my driver position for when I drive the car, and look at the sheer amount of legroom. Unbelievable amount of legroom. Good headroom here. This car does have a little sunroof, but not in the back seat, so good headroom. And then let's see if we've got any recline here. So yes, we do. So quite a bit of recline as well. This is an absolutely incredible back seat in this CRV. And there's a couple of other nice little things that you might not consider, like rear AC vents. So if you've got kids or furry friends back here, they're gonna stay nice and cool. Below that, we also have a couple of USB-Cs. And then for those long road trips, a couple of cup holders back here with that center armrest. Here, let me scoot my seat beyond the gangster lane. There we go. Nope, that's still gangster lane. More Colorado than Atlanta. There we go, that's more Colorado. So yeah, really, really good back seat as a whole. Popping open the hatch of the CRV will reveal just over 36 cubic feet worth of space. Now, one thing worth noting is the hybrid battery lives underneath the floor, so there is no way to lift this up, and there's also no spare tire, which for an off-road trim is a little bit of a miss. And then as I come on over here, I'm gonna fold down the seats. Now this is gonna reveal well over 75 cubic feet worth of space, which is great. One problem I have with this though is there's a pretty sizable hump here. So you can see that transition from the floor to the seat back. So if you wanted to go car camping, you'd have to kind of fill that gap, or this would be a little uncomfy. So Honda brought us out to this motocross track where they've got Honda motorcycles zooming around, showing us their off-road capability of the brand. Now, what we're doing in the CRV is not a motocross track. It's what they described as a soft roading course, essentially kind of like a dirt road course with some hills, some ravines, some off-camber stuff. When you look at the CRV from a capability standpoint, right, it has the same 8.2 inches of ground clearance as any other CRV. So I wish for the TrailSport that they would have given it some additional clearance along with some additional underbody protection, because with only 8.2 inches, there's a good chance you're going to be, you know, putting that oil pan into a vulnerable situation. So having radiator and oil pan protection would have been nice to see how it does. But they say they've redone the all-wheel drive calibration to make it better for, you know, rugged, slippery, wet, what have you terrains, especially for speeds that are 9 miles an hour. It's supposed to be much better. But every CRV hybrid gets that new system. It's not just the TrailSport. So listen, I'm just going to call a spade a spade. As trail sports go, this is a fairly mild trail sport, especially compared to like the Passport. But look, realistically, are people going to be using the CRV Trail Sport in rough off-road conditions? Probably not. Now, of course, Honda is not going to put us into a situation that the car can't handle. But having said that, we've got this cool little trench that we're kind of traversing over now. So we're going to take it nice and slow. So if you have the approach and departure angle, they filled it in with some rocks here. And then we're going to go hard left. And let's see how that electric torque kind of pulls us up this little ravine. Ah, pretty good. We've got this little hill challenge here where we're going to get it a little three-wheeled there. And then we got that hill descent holding us down at 2 miles an hour over that little ravine. And we can kind of see how that vehicle held its speed going through that. Pretty cool. All right, we got one more cool little decline here. Get her up on 2 wheels. Woo! And then the hill descent, now I've got it set at 4 miles an hour. Foot off the brakes. If it's too fast, I just hit the brakes a little bit. There's 2 miles an hour, right? And it'll hold it right where you set it. So this is a really cool opportunity, and I'm really flattered. Actually, Honda's been paying attention to the slip test. They really watch what we're up to, and they're constantly improving their vehicles. And they actually called us and said, hey, we'd like to build a set of rollers like you have. So we told them our design, essentially, and then they modified it in a really cool way. Actually, check this out, Zach. I need to do this to ours. They put this little spinny roller on the inside vertically to keep the vehicle positioned left and right. So I'm going to be implementing that. Of course they did, because the Honda folks are way smarter than I'll ever be. But what we have here is a side-by-side between the 2025 CR-V Hybrid and the 2026 CR-V Hybrid in a 3-wheel slip test. Now I have run the CR-V in the test before, and let me show you the problem, what happens when we get it on a 3-wheel test. Now, of course, the roller test is designed to simulate low traction situations, like imagine you're off-road, in the snow, in the ice, that kind of thing. And in the 2025 CR-V, when I put it in drive with just one rear wheel on the ground, so what happens is it gets stuck. And I've experienced this in the past, right? And you know, I'll be heavy on the throttle, and in the 3-wheel test, the car won't move, right? It'll just end up spinning its wheels. Now, Honda said, for the 2026 model year, they've rejiggered their traction control programming, and it's supposed to be better. So let's find out if it is. All right, here we go. 3-wheel test in the 2026. Ah! It did it! So folks, like, big credit to Honda for paying attention and making some noticeable improvements that we got to experience in the real world. That was really cool. We got to talk pricing and competition with the CR-V TrailSport. Now, this kind of class of ruggedy, small crossovers is very popular. Think of vehicles like the Nissan Rogue Rock Creek. You have the Hyundai and Kias like the X-Pro, and then you've got the elephant in the room, the new RAV4 Woodland. Now, pricing on this vehicle, low $40,000 range. This is kind of middle of the pack when it comes to the CR-V hybrid pricing territory. Here's the bottom line when it comes to the CR-V TrailSport. This is an exceptionally good car, but not a very good trail sport. And what I mean by that, as an on-roader, it's got a great interior. It gets good fuel economy. It's got a very comfortable seating position. The back seat is enormous, and it feels like a very well-made product. As a trail sport, which is the adventure trim, it's lacking a little bit. We don't have front recovery points. We don't have front skid plates or underbody protection or any additional suspension lift. So if you're looking for a CR-V in a great color with a cool set of tires, this is a great choice. If you're looking for a rugged crossover to take you to the really cool camp spots, well, you may want to consider the TrailSport Passport for that. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. This has been Tommy behind the camera, Zach, today. We'll see you next time. Head over to alltfl.com for more reviews in one place.